as they sort of discover this like tuna fishery while they're looking at the dolphins, they discover the sharks, and then they talk a little bit about shark finning, and sort of the corruption within that system as well, how it sort of not directly but almost indirectly aligns with a lot of criminal activity.
Yeah.
Which is a point that they make further on in talking just about commercial fishing in general. But what I really appreciated when it came to the shark conversation is they talked about finning, they talked about how it's a huge issue, but and obviously the documentary itself is about commercial fishing, so it makes sense that they talked about bycatch. But that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
That I try and really talk to people about when it comes to sharks, because to the point that they made in the documentary, finning, yes, awful. Responsible for a huge portion of sharks taken out of our oceans. However, bycatch is almost just as bad, if not worse nowadays.
Yeah.
And a lot of people
especially
don't hear about it.
Yeah, and with finning, kind of, it is becoming more and more less common. Like, I remember I took a conservation biology class and we watched videos of young people in Taiwan who were making like promotional content that they spread around about not participating in the shark fin industry. And obviously it's still like, they went to Hong Kong, we see that it is still happening.
Yeah.
But I think, we're seeing it get smaller more and more, and that bycatch really is another very big driving factor that I see a lot of people talk about bycatch, but it may just be because of who I know. Maybe it really isn't spread as much as finning. Obviously finning, I think
when it comes to the general public, it's not as commonly, at least when it comes to sharks, it's not normally as talked about. And I think that's kind of almost what the documentary implies, is that people don't talk about commercial fishing, people don't talk about bycatch. And
I mean, even like if you look at the big corporations that they almost like point out, they will talk about finning, and a lot of bigger companies will talk about finning, but maybe not so much the impact fishing has, which that does have a lot of merit, that whole.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the documentary did a good job about mentioning finning, also mentioning the bycatch, which obviously fits more the agenda of the overall documentary.
Yeah.
And clearly finning is still a really big issue. That doesn't mean that we should forget that finning exists and not talk about it anymore. It's still a huge problem. But it is worth mentioning, right, that like the bycatch thing is almost worse sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and people can kind of do more on a personal level to potentially decrease bycatch versus finning, because most of us are not encountering shark fin soup. We can sign petitions, but it's happening.
Or encourage others to,
or encourage others to,
but tangible.
Yeah, it's not like you are regularly offered or are seeing shark fin soup that you're not you're not actively purchasing and putting your money into, whereas most people go to seafood restaurants, buy seafood without maybe looking into it, which we talk about
for sure.
All that kind of stuff.
I wish they would have mentioned, because it would have fit their rhetoric, I wish they would have mentioned how shark is often listed as other things, because I think that would have been another an interesting add-on to their commercial fishing like agenda. But
I definitely think they could have added about like how often fish is like just mixed. Like shark can be in it and just other random species. They kind of did like talk about
options.
Yeah, that there's more to seafood as well, like how unhealthy. I mean, they kind of talk about like
they do about with the omegas and things like that.
But there is the other level.
Oh, for sure. But I mean,
there's only so much you can do in an hour and a half.
They already talked about so much in this documentary, so it's not like they already hit a lot of points. We're just
they hit a ton.
Things
they hit a lot.
Even more talk about.